Okay, so hello everyone. Just I shorthanded what kicked RS is to WKOA because there is some code of conduct or something like that. My name is Honza Gretz. I'm Python programmer since that's actually not a typo because I still don't consider myself being Python programmer, but I'm doing Python since about 2010. Um, Most of my work is bug fixing because I'm not a Python programmer. And currently I work for kiwi.com in automation team. Uh, and I prepared my talk about Redis. Is there anyone who's ever heard about Redis? Cool. And who's ever used Redis? Cool. And who's using Redis on daily basis on production? Cool. So I have just several notes what we did and what wasn't actually really cool and what kicked our asses in meantime. So Redis is open source in-memory data structure store. This is actually from redis.io, where you can download Redis, and it's here because, like the note is here because it actually contains the word database, but it's not a good idea to use Redis as a database for, at least for us. We did it, we tried it, we lost many data, and we are trying to avoid using Redis as a database. It's cool for caching, it's cool for temporary data storage, but as a database like as is, we don't use it too much. Okay, thing number one. When you download a Python package, Redis, there are two basic classes to work with Redis server or Redis client. There's a Redis and strict Redis. Redis is more Pythonic way. There is a different order of arguments for some functions. Strict Redis tries to be really strict about notation and so on, so it should 100% copy the usage of Redis command line interface. If you use Redis command line interface, I strongly recommend you to use strict Redis. Once one of our programmers used just Redis, and we all use strict Redis, and we spent like hour or so just finding the bug why his code doesn't work with our code, because he had just switched arguments. What kicked our ass is number two. There is a connection timeout. It is set by default. I don't know what the number is. I tried to look for it, but I didn't find it. If you don't use socket timeout and initialize strict Redis, it may not be connected to server as well. Redis works as a, like, it sends commands, waits for response, and so on. So you will be able to create a strict Redis instance, but when you send some command, you can get stuck, which is for some production data, or when you have some script which you want to be really fast and really quick, you don't want to wait 2 minutes to just get the error that you can't connect to Redis. So you can use socket timeout. It will raise exception even before that time, and it may save you a lot of troubles. Like with inconsistency against development environment and production environment when you switch to different Redis, which is not, or which may be not running at that time. Just saves time. Redis data types. This is cool. I actually was looking into documentation, and there are like 5 types of strings, which all are string. Redis has just string. So if you set an integer to Redis, if you save it, you will get a string from response. So mind your data types, floats, integers, anything else. It will be stored as a string and it will be retrieved as a string. So you should do switch data types if you want to use your values properly. I think we had some bug when we use get function on a key, and it returned us 0, but it returned us 0 as a string, which is a true value. So our if statement went okay, like, yeah, it is set, even though the 0 meant it is not set. Data types everywhere. What kicked our ass is with usage. We had several, like, they are not like just Python issues or not at all Python issues. It's like the overall issues of how you use Redis as a storage. We were using Redis for caching DB settings. It's great, it's cool. You don't want to ask a database for settings you want to use like 10 times or 10,000 times per minute. You want to load it from Redis. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's just really better. But you should mind, though, that the data will get obsolete. You can do 2 ways of solving this issue. You can run some cron job, which will load the data, and every time it loads the data, it deletes all data. Or better is to set expire on those set expire on those keys with database values. Expire will delete those keys. Automatically, so you don't have to handle it anywhere else, and you can just load data on failover, which is also good to have. We had these issues. We were saving data. We were saving DB settings, and when we changed settings in DB directly, it didn't propagate to Redis, so we had to wait some time. That's for caching DB settings for us. Set your expires, or you will have all data, and it's also pretty hard to find these issues, or this issue specifically, because you don't know what's wrong. Like you would swear you changed the settings in database, it should work, but you just forget about Redis and it still has old data and uses old settings. Redis log. Did anyone use Redis log? Cool. So you know what's probably wrong in here. We had this idea that we could use locking over Redis. Locking is when you want to lock several processes and run them one by one, for example. We had that idea and we started implementing it, but we did this nasty thing. It's still somewhere in our code. We are asking for status of the log, and then we are setting the log, and it's 2 different operations, and between those 2 different operations, like, anything can happen. It can be context switch, and some else process can do this, run this code, and you can end up by 2 processes running in parallel, with one same lock. It looks probably like this. This can be handled by setNx function in Redis, which sets the value if value is not already set. It will return you true if it was able to set the value, or false if the value was already set. And you can use this function. And this is more proper using of Redis log. Or you can use Python Redis log module, which is really cool. It handles everything, handles queues for log, handles proper locking, and does all the job. If you were considering using logs over Redis, please use, or I recommend you to use Redis log module. In memory only storage, this is not mandatory, and I believe it is not set by default. By default, Redis is set, it stores data also to hard drive. And so when you shut down the Redis server, you are safe. You have your data on hard drives, and you can, when you run the server again, it will load the data from hard drive. But mind your provider setting, I think we are now using Amazon, and Amazon has a setting it doesn't handle storing data into hard drives. So if you plan to store critical data in Redis, be prepared that when the Redis shuts down, like for anything, outage, anything, you will again lose those data. It will not be retrieved from hard drive when it's not saved in hard drive. That's actually one of the reasons why it's not good to use Redis as a database, or we think it's not good. And what kicked our ass is big time. Like, this is the biggest issue. It's probably not an issue, but it's the biggest thing. By all of this, by using Redis for locking processes, by using Redis for queues, by using Redis for DB caching and setting, we actually made our Redis a single point of failure. Like, when our Redis in our team stops working, everything stops working. We just can't live with it anymore. Not sure if it's a problem or not, but again, it's additional service you have to handle. You have to make sure it will work. It will not have any like outages or anything. As we are using AVS, they actually had one outage. It was several months ago. Don't know if you saw it. They had problems with DNS servers, like their internal DNS servers, and the generated addresses for servers just stopped working. The servers were all up and running, but you couldn't connect because the address didn't work. So even for AVS, even for DigitalOcean, anything, the Redis can stop work. Probably in one point it will. Just all you can do is to be prepared for it. So don't make same mistakes as us, please. Those were stupid mistakes, and we are still trying to handle them. That's probably everything from me. Thank you very much, and thanks for your patience. I'm a first-time speaker here.
Thank you very much. During your talk, several questions appeared, so we can get through them. First one is, what's your experience with Redis cluster replication?
We were considering it, but we still have no experience. We didn't try it, make it work or anything. So, no.
Okay, next question is, Why do you not like to use Redis with disk persistence enables as a database? Why don't you like it as a database?
As a database. Um, because it can be used, I believe it can be used as a database, and you can store data to Redis and have them like all 100%. But I think you should handle that server by your own, because most of the providers will not give you chance to save your data or set DB saving and so on, and you can really lose the data. Like just lose the data, it's like puff and nothing's there. Also, Redis has no strict or not no strict commands on data and so on. But you can set anything to any value. You can set passwords, anything, and then just in some different script, you can rewrite all these values without knowing. When you do it for database, some sort of the database is so the query for the database is so not it's so not simple that you will probably notice that you may be rewriting something or you may do some strong changes. But for Redis, you just do r.set and that's it. And you don't know if you rewrote some data you already had in Redis or if you set new data. It can be solved by using the setNX function, but it's just too many. I believe it can be used as a database with proper usage of Redis, but we definitely don't do proper usage of Redis.
You mentioned losing data. What about master-slave configuration or I don't know, probably configuration?
That's cool. We still didn't have any time to set it, so we don't yet use master-slave replications, I believe. We were also thinking of using one of the slaves as a developer server. So we would test our scripts as a slave, which has disabled writing. So you wouldn't, or the changes you would do wouldn't propagate to master and then to other slaves. But I think it's implemented in the newest version of Redis. And again, providers or server providers still use old versions, so we didn't use this one. Master slave is cool, but we still haven't had enough time to migrate it.
Are you saying that Kiwi users uses a single unreplicated Redis master node?
No, that's actually not a Kiwi. I forgot to mention it. We are just one small team of all teams and developers of Kiwi. Kiwi doesn't run on one unreplicated, unmanaged Redis instance. This is instance we use in our automation team, where it's about 20 or 25 people, and it doesn't contain any critical data. It doesn't contain any passengers information or anything like that. We just use it for this stuff, for queuing, for locking over processes, and so on.
Okay, how does Redis algorithm for deleting keys up? How does algorithm for deleting keys after expiring work? Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so once again, how does Redis algorithm for deleting keys after expiring work?
Not pretty. This is handled by, or if you if you man the Redis itself, or the expire function itself, it's handled by Redis. It's not handled by a Python module. It's handled by Redis itself. You just set like expiration for this key. You set key like, okay, set this key's name as a, I don't know, cruch and set the value to 1, and you then set that you want the key named cruch to expire after like 5 seconds or 10 minutes or so. And Redis server itself will handle this. After 10 minutes, it will automatically disable the key or maybe delete the key. Not sure how it works in specific. But you don't have to handle it anywhere in your code. You just set the expiration for the key.
Okay, and the last question is, do you use replication and sentinels?
No, we don't use replication and sentinels for this one instance, for this in our team.
Okay, thank you very much for your talk.
I thank you. You're fantastic.